Good morning, guys, and once again, welcome to Career Counseling Online, to the morning vibes. Hopefully, all of you are doing great. This is the weekend, so spending time with your family. Yes, we are in a lockdown, but still, we should take all the opportunity to spend our time with the family. Now, what that does is, it lets us be connected. It keeps us connected to our family, and family is something. The COVID-19 also has proved that a family life or a family member is somebody, or an aspect in a person's life which literally supports when every other supports falls apart. This is a part of our life wherefrom we draw the inspiration, we draw the motivation, and we remain connected. Now, guys, talking about family, see, we have always been talking about family business, generation based business, and business run by families over generations, the first generation, the second generation, third generation, and so on. But the thing is, there is a common problem which is majorly faced by uh, major family run businesses. See, just like in a wood, which you know over the time might get termite affected, might get eaten away by white ants. So what happens is, we have seen the termite affected woods as the exterior remains intact, right? Whether it's a furniture, whether it's a piece of wood or whatsoever, the furniture or that wooden plank remains intact. But what the termite does is, internally it has eroded away, it has eaten away um, the basic structure of the wood. So what happens is, though the furniture looks intact from outside, many a times we have seen that suddenly, with just a little bit of pressure, the family breaks, the furniture breaks into pieces. Now, a furniture which has been affected by termite, we have seen it to be broken into pieces with the slightest of pressure. Similarly, with a family run business, if the ethics, the principles, the philosophies as followed by, or as initiated by the founder members or the directors or the heading, the people heading the business has set. Otherwise, the present generation does not understand the value of the effort which has been put in creating that business. So many a times we have seen that the business, third generation or fourth generation business, goes into insolvency, goes into a breakup, or goes into kind of closure, just because the present generation cannot take care of the current operations of the business effectively. Now, what does that bring before us? See, a present generation who is, like, let's say, the third generation or the fourth generation in a very successful business house, generally there is a tendency, if the right steps or the procedures are not followed by the elders of the family, there is a tendency of the present generation going very comfortable, because they are the ones who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. But their father or their forefather or their grandfather were not as lucky as them. We have seen, I mean, even if we talk about Indian business concept, like from the way the Tata Empire was created, from the way the Birla foundations and the Birla business group has been expanded, or let's say, even if we talk about some present scenario about the Reliance industries, about the other industries, we have found that the kind of effort, the kind of hard work which their founders, which is founders, had to initiate or had to put on, right? The present generation does not have that. See, we have scenarios from the Indian perspective also, wherein we will find the present generation spending on luxury cars, like the latest model of the Ferrari lands up to the person's son's garage on his 19th birthday. Now, this is a man who has been running the business, and his father or the grandfather has created the business. While they were creating the business, most probably They were walking down the, all the way down to the marketplace. They were literally carrying off the stuff on their shoulders. Now, the thing is, the present generation, when a 19-year-old guy has a Ferrari on his birthday, well, that does not let him understand the hardship, the value, the philosophy, or the kind of vision that its founder had initially before founding the business. And honestly speaking, the business scenario is such that if we go back into two generation or three generation back, we will always find this business house or this business brand or this business empire was initiated or established with this vision of job creation, with this vision of creating a product which was needed in the society, and with a vision of creating job for more people. Now that kind of vision, unfortunately, this present generation will not have when a 19-year-old kid has a Ferrari on his garage, the latest model. Now, there's nothing wrong about the Ferrari. I mean, you can have the BMW or the Audi also. There's nothing problem about the model, or no problem in having those cars in your garage. But the thing is, when somebody gets something beyond their effort. Now, let's say this 19 years old kid or the young generation, when they have a Ferrari, a crore worth of a car, see, has they put on that effort to earn that money? It's just because their father is the richest person in the company, or their family is the third generation or fourth generation business, and they have immense wealth. So we have been seeing expensive to expensive marriages happening all around in India. We have seen expensive cars being crashing down on pedestrians and on busy malls or busy roads, and then there is a chaos, and so on. There has been accidents, there has been irrational behavior, there has been a lot of activities which literally makes us believe that, I mean, if this guy would have literally worked his ass off to earn this money, he would have understood the worth of every penny. He wouldn't be, yes, he might have got the best car, the best house, the best food, the best thing, but he would have understood the value, instead of the price of those products. Now, bringing there, how that can be prevented from happening in third generation or fourth generation or business, generation based business houses. The first thing is, I believe it is the responsibility of the elderlies in the family, which has a third generation, fourth generation, or fifth generation, or generation old business, to give a challenge to their new generations, to their son or to their grandson. Because what happens is, when a person faces a challenge, a block in the road, then the person starts understanding that the road to any kind of success, the road to any kind of prosperity, the road to any kind of achievement is not easy. It is filled with challenges. So when they go through those challenges, it is a process in which they learn to earn. Now, when a person learns to earn through his effort, see, we have examples of business houses who have been sending their children to work in their factory. We have some wonderful examples with the Tata groups also. I keep on repeating to this legendary group, because I'm not associated with Tata. Neither I'm trying to promote them, neither I'm trying to advertise them. But the thing is, over my reading and research on the various aspects, the various process of Tata, I have understood one thing. They had some core principle running, the core values running from generation to generation. It was not like, okay, so I'm the son of so and so I get to sit on the director's chair. Everybody achieved their position. Everybody literally worked throughout their life, and then they reached there. So what has that done is, that has created legendary leaders instead of directors, or instead of the CEOs or CTOs. It has always succeeded in creating legendary leaders with vision. with not a short term dream in their eyes, having a romantic picture of the world. They understood that their contribution mattered. So I believe when a challenge is given to the present generation to achieve something, to go through it, then a lot of learning happens. A lot of learning happens. So this is a process in which, as we say, the birdling breaks the eggshell and comes out and learns to fly. So that learning has to happen. Otherwise, everybody starts taking things for granted, and they do not know the kind of effort that goes in earning this money or fame or the company name, and something which we do not value. Just we look into the price tag and go along about it, cannot make us go in the long run with the kind of vision that our founder or our the directors or the head of the family or the head of the business had while they initiated the business. I can give you a very nice example. I was going through this Birla business house, a couple of papers, and there there was this person who said that the best you know training that I ever got was not from the B school, was not from the business school. It was always my father, because he always made things very difficult for us. I mean, it was not easy for us while we were children. It was never easy. I mean, even if we had to go for pocket money, he literally made us wash our handkerchief or small things. I mean, it's not like they have to wash the whole house or the garage or something like that. But everything was incentive based. I mean, like, even if you want to a certain toy, he was mentioning that I wanted this gun, which like was an imitation of the real one, and it was a fascinating one. He said that he still remembers having that gun himself, and literally his father mentioned that if you want to have that gun on my next tour to abroad, I can bring one for you. But for that, you have to come first in all the semesters of your class. And most probably he was in standard 6 or 7 at that time, and he said that I couldn't succeed. My scores were not that good, so though I succeeded in the first term and the second term, the third term I couldn't, because there was some problem with his health. But still, the thing is, that was not overlooked. I mean, that was not taken into consideration with a kindness, like, okay, my son was ill, so he deserves this, so I'll get the gun. So he said that finally I got that gun on standard 8, when the 3 semesters I stood first in my class. So that's the kind of challenge when a parent puts in front of the children. They know the value of earning it rather than being given, and taking everything for granted. When there is a challenge, when they overcome that, see, not only they learn the value of anything that they have in their life, but they also understand one aspect, that they literally have to put on hard effort to go through this process and to earn that. And it is not easy. Whatever you see in the life is is not only achieved by paying a price. Literally, people worked very hard. My grandfather worked hard, my father worked hard, and that's something that I need to do also. So that makes me understand that the family heads or the business heads also needs to learn to say no to their children. Because see, when there is an abundance of anything, wealth, power or anything, see, majority of the times what happens is, when our children want something, as parents, because we all go through our fair portion of hardships. So the kind of hardships that I faced, like, let's say, while asking for a toy from my father, the kind of hardship that I faced. Or let's say, if we go back to the Birla example, he was Kumar Mangalam Billa, right? He fondly quoted that, I found, ultimately I got that gun. Think about Kumar Mangalam Billa being one of the pioneer legends in the Indian business house, or the Indian business history. He says that, for a gun, a toy gun, I literally had to wait all the 1 year. I literally had to study hard. I had to put on extra effort. I went through books. I repeated, and he said that I always found it difficult to work on memorizing my studies and everything. But still, I literally worked hard, and over the time, what happened was, in standard 8 I finally got my gun. So the he fondly quotes that, had my father given me that gun that day when I asked him, it was most probably at that time, he says that most probably by Indian standards, that gun might have costed around like 400 or 500 rupees, which was a huge amount at that time. When he was a kid, 400 could be like almost like 4,000 or 10,000 rupees in the present scenario. But the thing is, he said that had my father given me that gun that day, I wouldn't have learned this a lesson of life, that I need to put effort to earn anything in my life. Otherwise, I will not be able to enjoy, the fruit of my effort. That was a wonderful statement, and that differentiates a leader from a common man. See, the way he took it, the way he understood it, and the way he analyzed it into his real life, it became a lifetime teaching. So, once again, I need to tell you that we as parents also, or the business heads as the parents, no matter even if they can afford it, I mean, no matter if they want to, they do not want their children to suffer the kind of wait period that they had to while they were children. It's much better to say no to your children, to make them understand that it is not always that, whenever you want anything in your life, you can have it. Now that is a common problem in the whole global aspect, that we are not happy because we are growing into a habit of demanding constantly and getting it. And the thing is, either we have been injected this thought by our parents, because when we used to throw the tantrums, or when we used to ask for it, our parents must have been drawing reference from their childhood, and must have thought like, okay, when I was a kid I felt literally bad. But the thing is, those parents are forgetting the kind of lesson that our parents or the grandparents tried to teach us. See, when you take this as like, I literally felt so sad when my father couldn't give it, or my grandfather couldn't give it, let me give it to my son. See, the thing is, today you are successful. Please do not forget, today you are successful because your father or your grandfather didn't give it just at the beck and call, right? So what that made you do is, you understood the value of effort, you understood the value of contribution, and you understood one thing, guys, that I have to earn it. When you're earning, you cannot be flamboyant, you cannot be just showing off, you cannot have an arrogance of having everything in my life just at, you know it cannot be. What does that do is, in the long run, it creates legendary leaders like the ones we're talking about. Kumar Mangalam Birla is one most studied business personality in India. We can learn tons and tons of things from his whole life. Like, even if we go by the Tata corporations also, there is so much to learn from. So to draw conclusion, I would say it is very important for parents to say no to their children sometimes, so that the children also understand the value of the things that they are getting in their life. Third point I would say is involving the children in training, involving the children into the business, involving them in understanding the process which runs the whole corporation, and understanding the way the management is done, the way, just because you are heading the organization, you cannot be rude, you cannot be arrogant, because your father or maybe your grandfather never did. There have been instances, quotations quoted about legendary business leaders who were found having tea though they were heading the business, they were found having tea with their neighbors, with their, it's nothing wrong. I mean, I do not believe in discrimination of any sort, but the thing is, it's nothing wrong. I mean, it's particularly human. And you having tea, I mean, there has been references of directors, of founders rushing to their employees' house whenever they were made aware of any challenges or any accidents or any situation which has happened. I'll again come back to Ratan Tata ji. With all due respect, I keep on repeating him. It's like there was this occasion wherein the Queen of England and Prince Charles wanted him to be awarded with most prestigious award from for his legendary contribution in the world history of business. Okay, so it so happened that the peer person, the people, his secretary and everybody was already in has already reached England, and they were already preparing the speech and everything so on. And Ratan Tata ji was supposed to reach England in another day, obviously in his own flight. Now the thing is, and the day before his coronation was supposed to happen, his PR, his secretary, his department started calling up, sir, like, when you are reaching, this is going to be the plan of action, this is how we are going to visit the Buckingham Palace, and this is the whole schedule as per the palace which we have received. And it so happened that unfortunately at that time, Ratan Tata ji is very fond of his dog. Yeah, he had, if I'm not wrong, he had 2 to 4 dogs. And it so happened that just one day before his coronation, one of his favorite and one of his old dog died. And he stopped receiving mails, stopped taking calls and so on, and he was just spending time understanding the kind of feeling that obviously we feel when somebody very close of us parts away. So his personal secretary starts calling up frantically, like, tomorrow is the call, sir, have you boarded the plane, and so on, and this. But the thing is, he writes that I am not going for this award, please, this is my statement, please apologize on my behalf, this is my apology letter to the Queen, to Prince Charles, and please tell them that I cannot, because my favorite dog has died. Now they were completely chaotic. I mean, they couldn't understand, like, the repercussion that might happen, the kind of ill fame, the kind of trolling, the kind of media coverage that might go wrong. But Ratan Tata ji didn't care about all this. And when on the day of the coronation, when his secretary read that letter in which he has apologized very sincerely to the Queen, to the Prince, and to the the royal flag, and he has mentioned that I want to spend time with my departed friend. He is no more, but I want to spend time with him instead of celebrating with my reward and recognition. You wouldn't believe, Prince Charles mentioned, you guys can go ahead in YouTube, you can search, Prince Charles mentioned, and there are tons of writings about that also. He said, that is a man, and we are so happy that we have selected him for this particular reward, because if you are not showing that humanitarian part of yourself, that involvement with all people or everybody, every living soul around you, you are simply a businessman, and we never wanted this award to be given to just a businessman. So Ratan Tata ji was given that award, and there was a lot of appreciation letters which was sent to him. So that is what I'm talking about. Involving that kind of involvement has come, because Ratan Tata ji, he is involved with the people. The process, it's not only about the process, the technology that he's involved with, he is involved with the people also. So involving your present generation into the process, into the business, and into the way the business is done, I believe that makes them feel more connected by the time they take over to the process, and they understand how the things are run, how the father runs it, how their grandfather ran it, and how they managed the team, how they spoke to the people, how they interacted with people, what kind of process they involved and evolved out of it. So when they are involved, when the present generation is involved in a training, they understand the process much better, right? So instead of just partying around, instead of just having fun all around, and exotic holidays and this and that, otherwise by the time they reach their position and they take over the company, they find it as a fat checkbook only. The company appears to them as a fat checkbook, and they keep on drawing the checks. And we have history in India also and abroad about legendary business going insolvent because the present generation couldn't contemplate, couldn't understand, couldn't plan accordingly, and couldn't understand the whole process altogether, and they kept on spending, and in luxurious car, in luxurious homes, in luxurious marriages, and so on. And the company breaks up between brothers, between heirs, and subdivision of the company, and break up, and finally insolvency. So guys, with that, I believe if these 3 points are taken into consideration by the business houses, business houses, they can ensure that their legend continues. Their legend continues. The kind of legend that they created, their father created, their grandfather created, that legend of business continues. With that note, today we wrap it up all, and thanks a lot, guys, for always being with us. And we are having a very, very wonderful interactive sessions every day. The live studio sessions happening great. And let me tell you one new advancement. On Wednesdays, bi-weekly, we are going to meet some renowned entrepreneurs, some startup entrepreneurs, and some solopreneurs also, who are taking it to the next level with their effort. They could have gone into a different job, or a luxurious life, or a different kind of lifestyle altogether, but they have left it all behind, and they are working on their startups, or they're working on their small business, or they're working on their ideas. And this Wednesday, hopefully we are going to do the first live session with somebody pretty interesting. I mean, she has been into media, she has been into a lot of news channels, she has been into a lot of writing, a lot of documentary making, movie making, yet she now chooses to write on favor of the hidden talents of sports, the ones that are not recognized by the mainstream sports industry. All right, so she's somebody who's very, very interactively writing blogs, writing about them, discovering them, making them come to the surface, covering their achievements, and so on. So we will have a very interactive session. This is these episodes are we call at is a mindset. So this will be the episode 1 of mindset. And thanks a lot, guys, for joining us on the watch parties also. Our morning vibes live sessions are happening great. So with all your support, we believe that we can come together and solve this problem of trauma which is going around with the pandemic going on. So as I always say, please don't stress it out. We are all in this together. We are all trying to come out with a solution. We are all trying to help each other. We are all trying to network. We are there for you. So guys, please like our Facebook page, which is Career Counseling Online, and we have a wonderful YouTube channel by the same name, Career Counseling Online, altogether. And you can join in LinkedIn. We have this interactive group which is called the Career Counseling Online. You can join that, and you can have a lot of insights about career, about resume writing, about preparation of interviews, about the way to handle stress, about the way to handle the career changes, and so on. So guys, with that note today, and as was always I mentioned, please feel free to write to me at careercounselingonline@gmail.com. So every details would be there in the description. So with that note today, guys, stay safe, stay home, and take care. And as I always end it with saying, learn, contribute, and evolve. Have a wonderful Sunday. Eat a lot of good foods. Spend time with your family. Be healthy. Be positive. Goodbye.